Two pose pipelines, one question. Two 2026 studies build a video-based classifier on top of pose estimation, but only one of them has anything to check its answers against. Both papers route video through an off-the-shelf detection and pose stack before handing the result to a downstream classifier, a pipeline shape now common across sports and clinical computer vision. What differs sharply between them is what that classifier's output can actually be checked against, which is arguably more consequential than any architectural choice either paper makes. Built for a physical therapy classroom rather than a clinic, this pipeline chains an off-the-shelf detector, pose estimator, and tracker into a system that also has to work out which of two people on screen is the therapist and which is the patient, before a compact recurrent model grades whether a passive range of motion exercise was executed correctly. Reported detection and classification accuracy are high, but the ground truth those numbers are checked against comes from expert annotation of one specific setup, a fixed dual camera arrangement, a defined exercise set, a student population. So how the same recipe performs on a different exercise, camera arrangement, or patient population is not established here. Feeding the same broad family of tools, pose-keypoints turned into biomechanical features, then grouped into pattern classes. This study works from an existing multiplayer tracking dataset rather than newly collected, expertly labeled footage, and has nothing equivalent to the previous paper's therapist-verified ground truth. Its own stated conclusion is that the resulting groupings should be read as proxy label separability, a demonstration that the features can be clustered, rather than a validated read on which basketball actions or outcomes actually occurred. Placed next to the PT paper's ground truth-checked classifier, it is a reminder that a broadly similar-looking pipeline can sit at very different points on the evidence spectrum depending on what, if anything, its output is checked against. Read together, these two 2026 papers show that a pose estimation to classifier pipeline is now common enough to be almost a template, but the template alone says little about how trustworthy any particular application of it is. What separates a validated tool from an exploratory one is not the sophistication of the detector or tracker, but whether an independent ground truth exists to check the classifier's output against, and whether the authors are explicit when it doesn't. Both papers here are explicit about their own evidentiary status, which may be the more generalizable finding than either paper's individual accuracy numbers.